I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world. And yet, I ask you, is not an alien force already among us?
Through the gates of majestic Mount Rome, down to the far corners of the Endless Highway, wherever you are, welcome to the show. My guest today is an explorer, adventurer. He's the host of the RenaissanceMan YouTube. He's one heck of a cook, and he's about to pop into the frame any second now. RenaissanceMan, welcome to the show.
Great to be here. Awesome to be here. Good to, how do I get rid of that screen meeting? Okay, there we go. Cool. Yeah, awesome to be here. I'm glad you reached out, Tim. This is my first podcast ever. I'll let you continue.
Okay.
I'm a little nervous, but I'll be all right.
Doing great so far, man. I love that walk-in. You know, I used to play in a band, and
yeah,
every now and again, because I was lead singer for a while, every now and again when we played like a really big venue that had like a backstage and stuff, I'd talk the guys into doing like a 30 to 45 second intro. And I would walk out on stage last.
Oh, nice.
Just, get everybody hyped up. So all that to say, I can appreciate the walk-in approach.
Nice. Yeah. Good walk-in's good, man. What kind of music did you play?
We did rock, and it was, I've done all kinds of music over the years, but that band was rock. More like, it wasn't radio rock. It was more like Led Zeppelin meets a more modern sound. And I was also into like Kings of Leon a lot at the time. I think that probably came through as well in that.
Yeah, they're good.
Yeah. All the work, I do want to say this, all the work that, because you're a content creator. I know that you know how much work kind of goes into this and doing this. It's like, it can be a lot, but when I do, I feel like it's worth it when I get to do shows like this, because recently I've been able to have people on who like I follow, whose content I appreciate, and I enjoy your channel. I've recommended your channel to people before as well in the past.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you that. How did you even find my channel? Because like, I'm not really well known on YouTube, and I guess I'm starting to be more well known in the Sasquatch thing. But yeah, it's been a grind just to get where I'm at, and I'm still just, YouTube is such a crappy platform. They're always messing with me and taking subscribers, and they take your money and stuff sometimes. Not to bash YouTube, but there's a lot of people call them ScrewTube for a reason.
Yeah. You're not the first person to come on and talk about the censorship, and in regards to the money, that as well. I'm not going to go too deep into this because I do kind of want to put this up on YouTube. So I'll try to be light with my criticism here. But I had another guy on who said that his money was taken as well. But yeah, I did find your channel by Bigfoot. It was, I'm trying to remember the first video I saw. I think I found your channel because I was looking for more obscure Bigfoot documentaries. And the first video of yours I watched was something on I remember you're walking down the road and you were looking for an entrance to get to this place. I think it was like a cabin that where the legend has it that there were these
Yeah, that was probably the Ruby Creek.
yes, that's the one.
Oh,
Yes.
cool. Yeah, that's my most popular video on there right now. It's got like, I don't know, 200,000 views or something, but
Mhm.
that was fun to do. And I'm actually going back to Ruby Creek because I recently found the forest roads that lead up into the mountains there. So at that time, I didn't know Ruby Creek at all. And then I met a few locals after I did that video, and I got access because it's on First Nations land. I can get access to the mountains up in there. And I'm going to make a whole second part to that soon.
That would be great.
But yeah, that's the Chapman Farm incident.
Yeah.
That's where the 9 foot Sasquatch came right into a cabin right in broad daylight, and the woman had her kids and stuff there. The husband was working on the railroad or something,
Oh, yeah.
just off the mighty Fraser River, and yeah, ransacked the place, took all the smoked salmon or ripped all those barrels apart. Yeah, definitely a cool one.
There's another documentary in particular of yours, and this one I sent to a lot of people. And, speaking of censorship, I don't know how deep we want to go into this work, but I'd say it's kind of like an avant-garde socio-cultural statement disguised as a Bigfoot documentary.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? You're nowhere to hide.
I've been using the word documentary a lot lately. Mainly, sorry.
We might have some activity live on the show.
Yeah, it's just I don't know who that is, but anyway, sorry. Just the word documentary. I want to start making some documentaries. I think some of mine already you could like kind of maybe sell on like Amazon Prime and stuff. I know Mountain Beast Mysteries. He does that all the time. He like makes his documentary. You ever watch him? Mountain Beast Mysteries.
Yes.
Justin. Yeah, you can find all his shows like on Amazon Prime and stuff. But I wouldn't mind trying to put some more out there on other platforms.
Oh, I didn't know he had his stuff on Prime though. I
Oh
thought,
yeah. He's got 3 or 4 of them on Prime.
Well, so this Nowhere to Hide documentary, it's
that one.
It's a Bigfoot documentary, but it's also like an exegesis on how government does these land grabs. And I think people should go and watch it. It's not like political in an off-putting way.
Yeah, that was an interesting one to put out. YouTube did block views for a while on that one, and obviously because of some of the stuff on there.
Mm-hmm.
I did another one about Hawaii Sasquatch. I had a Hawaiian local on my channel and interviewed him about the missing kids and the Oprah and just the fires. And a lot of people think Sasquatch doesn't exist on the Hawaiian Islands, but it's not what the locals are saying.
Yeah, that's interesting. I've heard about those island berrymen as well. That's a wild thing to think about because, it's like, how did they get there and all that? But, I'll just say one more thing too about this documentary, this Nowhere to Hide documentary. I do want people to go and watch that because I do think you did a really good job with it. And I think it's relevant right now because of some of the stuff that might be happening. Just a couple hours from here, we've had this massive flood in Appalachia. And like, it's being called 1,000-year flood because it's so massive. And
they're not just using fire; they're using water, fire, landslides, all kinds of things for these grabs.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if this Appalachian flood. I'm not going to say that it was not natural, but I do think that some of these things do happen that aren't natural. I do think there is a degree of weather manipulation going on, especially in the case of Maui.
Yeah. Oh, 100% on
Yeah.
that one. And like Lytton, British Columbia, I'll talk a little bit about it, but the head doctor of Lytton, British Columbia, he was the first one to speak up against the vaccinations. I don't care anybody's opinion on the vaccines. I got mine. You all got yours, but he was the first guy to speak out about it. He lost his practice. He said, like, 2 of my patients died. 5 of them are mentally ill now, and some are crippled since taking it. And it's a small town of First Nations people. It's about 90% First Nations that live there. We all know the history behind them and government. And yeah, he lost his practice, and a couple weeks later, the entire town burned to the ground. So coincidence, I don't know, but I went there. The forest line around the town, not even touched by fire. The whole town's leveled to the ground.
Yeah. And they put up these black
fences
walls, so people driving through can't see what work or who knows what they're doing with that land. You can't see it because they block it out.
It's like 3-4 years later, there's still nothing built there. I heard stories, but I don't know, some of the stuff I don't even like talking about, but I heard it's going to be a checkpoint. Canada's practically run by Nazis, and people are calling it a Nazi checkpoint, so people can't go any further north out of the lower mainland and stuff, because that's the road you got to take to get further, to get away from the cities that are south of Canada. Well, BC, sorry.
Yeah, people should just go to RenaissanceMan on YouTube, watch Nowhere to Hide, or watch his other stuff. But that one in particular really stood out for me, man. Like I said, I think it's like very avant-garde for a, independent content maker like yourself. It's very, it strikes a nerve. And, not too long after I watched your documentary, Nowhere to Hide, is when this East Palestine train thing happened over here in Ohio.
Yeah.
And it just, I don't know, man. It just kind of reminded me a little bit of what happened there in Lytton or Lytton.
Hi, Trudy. Sorry. Hi, Trudy.
To my other son.
Okay. Can we do it in is he going to be here a while?
Oh, not very long. He has to go.
I'm just on a podcast here. Can we pause this for a second?
Yeah.
Sorry.
We'll be right back. Yeah, and we can move on from the Lytton thing. I think the story.
Yeah, I don't want to get too into it. I don't want to screw up your podcast either, because that stuff messes with you, man. Like, it messes with your views. It'll screw up. Like, I've been there, and it screwed up my show. Like, you should see my Instagram. Back when the Canadian trucker convoy was going on and all that, I used to put all these posts up and about corruption and stuff like that. I used to get hundreds and hundreds of likes when I would post something. Now, when I post a picture on Instagram, you've seen it yesterday, I get 2 likes. 2 or 3 people see it, and it's obviously some sort of shadow ban happening there. But
I mean, it's going on. That kind of stuff happens. So, we can move on from that. People can go watch the documentary and see for themselves, and we can just leave it at that. I think that story in particular is a little dark, but you also have on your channel, you could find very inspirational stuff and like beautiful scenery. Like some of the most beautiful scenery that I've seen on YouTube is in your videos, man. Like Canada, a lot of Americans don't know how beautiful Canada is.
Yeah. I appreciate that. Thank you, Tim.
Yeah.
I made this drink up earlier. It's creamy tomato soup mixed with dill pickle juice.
That's what you got in the cup?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got.
What do you drink?
I've got Lion's Mane.
Oh,
it's
nice.
It's Lion's Mane with chicory, rose petal, turmeric.
Oh, beautiful.
And it's actually it's dark like coffee.
Nice. Sounds good, man.
Yeah. I'll have to send you some of my, because I mean,
Yeah.
you cook a
I've been
lot on
checking
your,
out your Instagram, man. You're cooking up some fine dishes there. That's why I sent you a video of mine. I was hoping, do you make any cooking videos?
I have it. I haven't. I mean, maybe I should start. I
You could add
started.
that in with your podcast, like
Mhm,
because now YouTube just created this podcast section. So
mhm,
now when you have your channel, I don't know if you noticed this. Maybe it doesn't apply to you yet because you're not that deep into it. But
mhm.
you post your videos, and then there's like community post section, and now they have a podcast section. So I opened mine up and got it started, and I threw the Hawaiian Bigfoot episodes on there, where it's me interviewing the guy about the fires and the Sasquatch in Hawaii. So I just threw those up. It's an old video, but just threw those up on the podcast section. I'll put this up on that podcast section too after we're done.
Nice, nice. Yeah, yeah. So I've been cooking my own food for at least 10 years now. I just completely stopped eating all this garbage that you find, everywhere else. Like I
Nice,
don't eat
nice.
fast food. I don't eat any of that, man. I cook all my own food. So that's that's a big part of why I cook, and why some of my posts on Instagram have food. It's like every now and again I'll do something that I'm like, oh, I should probably take a picture of this. This seems pretty
Yeah,
cool.
man. Food's the most important thing in our lives. So, well, one of them. But that's what I was getting at earlier. I had to jump off and meet the landowner's son. This family invited me to live on their land. I was in a situation where I was just living in like Walmart parking lots and stuff on the sides of the street in my camper trailer, and this family invited me to their land. And one of our deals is like I'm a hunter trapper, licensed hunter and trapper, so I helped them out with meat. Like I just gave them a bunch of salmon, and for tomorrow for Thanksgiving, I did a bear ham. Bear ham. I did that up. So I brined it for like 10 days, and then I smoked it for 2 days. Just the big back leg of the bear. So we're gonna eat that tomorrow. It smells delicious, and I give them
Wow,
like deer meat and stuff like that just to help them out because they're helping me out kind of thing.
that's great. I,
Yeah.
I need to. I've tried bear, but I really need to eat bear again. I need to give it another try. I
Oh
really
man,
do.
bear jerky, bear ham. Like I can make a bear ham taste better than your pork ham that you buy, like your spiral pork ham that you buy at the grocery store.
I believe
Tastes
it.
tastes the same, man, pretty much.
Yeah.
Once you brine it, it goes all pink, just like the ham inside.
Hmm. So I
It's making
eat
me,
elk and
yeah, yeah.
venison. And I'll eat bison too. I try to stick to that wild game as much as possible.
Oh, for sure. And people are so against hunting. I'm like, so you would rather me go to the grocery store and buy some animal that's stuffed in a cage and filled with toxins and hormones and all this stuff? Or would you rather me eat an animal that lived an enjoyable life out free in nature? And I get into that with them, and
Hmm.
kind of opens their eyes a bit, but they still just, if you can't hunt and process an animal, I don't even think you should be eating meat in the first place.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
need to go through those steps to understand and respect the animal. And I have more respect for animals than humans.
Yeah.
Most of them.
Well, I come from a community that was filled with hunters, and I know those guys have a huge respect for nature and for life. And
Yeah.
it's some guys get competitive, and they do kind of take on this uh sport like
Ah,
approach to hunt.
I
But
can't stand that, man. Like
yeah,
I watch these hunting shows and they're like killing something. They're like, yeah, yeah,
yeah, I
yeah.
don't.
And they're cheering and stuff. When I kill something, man, I'm sad. Like I feel
Yeah,
bad. And I go up to that animal, man. And I'm like, I tell it I'm sorry and thank it for feeding me and my family. And just some of those hunting shows, I just can't stand the reactions. And you can just tell they're not hunting for the same reason. It's making me angry talking about it.
yeah, I'm with you. I grew up, and we were taught to have reverence for the animal, but I don't even think I had to be told that. I think the first time I was around an animal that was just freshly killed, I was automatically sad, and
Yeah.
it just makes sense that you have that you approach it with reverence. And that's my whole point, is like a lot of hunters get that. They have more of an appreciation for life than someone who hasn't killed an animal. It's wild how that works.
Have you watched Steve Rinelli from Meat Eater versus the Vegan video?
No, but I like Steve René.
It's like a 3-minute video, and there's like these vegan animal rights people all over him about hunting and stuff, and then his answer just destroyed them all, and they all shut up, and the guy he was pretty much speechless, and he actually agreed with everything Steve said. And you got to check that out. It's like Meat Eater versus Vegan or something.
Yeah, I'll check that out. I like him. I've been trying to get in touch with him, actually. I knew a guy out here in Tennessee who works for Luke Combs, and Luke Combs goes hunting with him. So I've been
he's awesome.
trying to wiggle my way into that. I don't know what's going to happen, but
yeah, man, that'd be sweet.
Yeah, I think too, like with your channel, like I like how you do a lot of cooking outside.
Yeah, nature's chef, I like to call myself.
Yeah, I like that. Nature's chef.
I actually spent about 10 years in the culinary arts. When I first got out of high school, that's what I was planning to be, was a chef. And I went to travel to Banff, Lake Louise, all these little mountain towns, ski towns, and just worked at those at like sous chefs and as a sous chef at some point and different things like that. I was always working the grill, mainly grilling the meats. And that's I always kind of had a passion for cooking, even since I was a kid. Cooked a lot for myself, so yeah,
I've gotten a lot of ideas from watching you cook and do your thing out there. I need to send you a rub, man. I need to send you, like, I've been working on a spice blend.
Are you? Shit,
Yeah,
I'll use that in the video, man, for sure.
Yeah, it's got well, it's kind of complex, and I'm not necessarily, I do think that like just salt and pepper on a good piece of meat is just fine.
You know what? I used to make hamburgers. I would crack eggs, put fucking like all these spices, paprika, Montreal steak, and put breadcrumbs in there and everything. Then I started working at this gourmet hamburger place. Best burger you'd ever taste in your life. And I asked the owner there, I was like, what do you guys put in your meat? He's like, salt and pepper. That's it.
Yep.
I was like,
that's
what?
it.
Yeah, I'm just wasting my time with all that other crap.
That's it. But I do like a good rub. That's what I'm working on.
Yeah, on ribs and stuff like that.
Yeah. Like I've got a rub I'm working on that's got a curry and like ginger, mustard, fennel, allspice. It's got a lot of stuff in it, but I'm trying to get it right. And like, I think I've got it down, man. I think I've got it to where it works really well with fish, pork, and red meat.
Nice. That's what I like, an all-around rub that you just use on everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man. Send me a jug of that stuff.
All right. I gotta get hip with the logos like you, man. I need to figure out a way to like put my logo on a spice pack.
How you got your logo made though, right? Are you gonna change it or anything, or?
I might change it. I'm thinking about it.
I know. How can I ask, like, how much did you have to pay anything for someone to make it or anything?
No.
Yeah, I found like this digital design or whatever they're called. Like if you pay someone, it's like $500 to $1,000. I got my ex-wife was from Brazil, so I got some Brazilians to do it. So the translation and the money, I paid like $200. First, someone drew that. I got to find the original, but someone drew that out by hand, and then I got them to redo it more into a logo.
Yeah. Yeah, your logo looks great, man.
So yeah, you can put it on anything. You just take it into one of them card places or decal places, and they'll take your logo and put it on stickers or whatever you want.
Yeah. Well,
check this out.
Yeah, I've
embedded now. The Yeti cups, they do embedded on your logos now.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. Yeah.
Show everybody that again. That looks so professional, man. It looks awesome.
It's embedded into the cup.
Yeah.
It's a little bit off, but they did pretty good. Yeti did. You
It
can
was
do that
good.
on their website, on the
Yeah,
Yeti website. Oh, there's my buddy Dallas Cruz texting me.
that looks good, man. They did a good job with it, and or whoever, the Brazilian people or whatever, y'all did. Whoever sketched it out and everything, they did a great job with it.
Well, we took the real. We took the. I probably can't get copyright from that, but the real Renaissance Man. It was it Da Vinci or who drew the original? Shit, I should know this. It's on my logo.
I think it's Da Vinci. Oh, you're talking about
The man with the four
yeah,
arms.
yeah. That's Da Vinci.
Da Vinci, yeah. So we got rid of what was in his hands. We put a gun there, and we put a cleaver for the cooking part, and a fishing rod, and a hammer because I do a lot of building.
Vitruvian Man, is that what they call that?
Is it Vitruvian Man?
I think so.
If you search Renaissance Man drawing by Da Vinci, that man pops up with the four arms, the naked dude. And I had to get rid of the bottom half because when I was putting the bottom half, because it shows everything down there, I was getting nudity strikes. Can you believe that?
Get out of here, dude. Ridiculous.
Yeah,
I think it's called Vitruvian Man, and there's a guy out. His name is Robert Edward Grant. I think that's his name, and he does really good research. And he was showing how Da Vinci encoded like sacred geometry into that picture.
Man.
Like the circles and the like everything lines up, and it's like a slimmed down version of measurements that they used in like the pyramids and stuff. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's nuts. I was listening to one of your other shows and you were going deep into that. And I wanted to mention to you too, like you're a really smart dude. Like I was kind of comparing you today to like a Joe Rogan or something, because some of the stuff you talk about, like it was pretty knowledgeable information you can learn on this podcast here.
Thanks.
I forget what it was. It was something about scripture. You had a guest on. He was talking about, I want to say Nephilim and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it was the Nephilim giants one, and I forget who the guest was, but yeah, it was one of your most recent ones about Nephilim and stuff like that, and scripture. You're mentioning how you've been reading through the Bible and stuff recently, and I've never read the Bible myself personally. I've read some of the Book of Enoch and stuff like that, but you know way more about that stuff than I could ever imagine.
Well, I love Book of Enoch. I recommend people read that, and even the Bible. Like, it's not what people think. I'm a big fan of the Old Testament. I think that it's what's cool about the Old Testament is, and it doesn't get any credit. People will not give it any credit for this, but it's pretty much archaeologically correct.
Yeah. Is that lawnmower really loud in the background?
No, I can't even hear it. So we're good.
No. Okay, good, good.
No, it's so because for example, when the Israelites were out walking, they were nomadic. They lived in the desert for like 40 years. Everywhere they go, they tell you. They're like, we're at the brook of such and such, and we passed by this mountain, and then we settled for the night in the region of such and such. And a lot of those landmarks in those regions are still there to this day.
Yeah, that's crazy.
There's one I just found the other day. It's in the beginning of Esther, the book of Esther, and it's about this king who ruled over all this land in between like India and like Iran. So he just like that whole part of the Middle East, he was over that. And he had a cat, or his headquarters was a place called Susa. And there's a whole story involving Esther and this king and Susa, but that city's still there to this day.
Wow.
It's an abandoned city.
And what's the age on that?
It's probably, I think it goes back further than that story in the Bible. It's probably 3,000 years old.
And the city is still standing.
Yeah. It's
Wow.
still standing. I might have a picture of it on here. I know that we weren't exactly going to talk about this. This
Yeah, it's all
stuff.
good, man. I'm here to talk about anything, really.
Yeah. If I don't know. I don't know if I have Susa on here, but I could. Anyway, it's still there. Anybody can look it up as SUSA. But it just goes to show you that these books, if you don't want to read them for spiritual reasons, you can still learn a lot about history from reading these books.
Yeah. That's kind of where I'm at. I've never been religious. My mom took me to Sunday school once as a kid, and I felt something like really dark in there, and I actually ran out of there like screaming and crying. She never brought me back since. And I totally love my mom for that, because I was never pushed into any religion. I always just kind of came up with my own kind of theories and stuff about life and everything. And there are times that I will look into scripture and I'm like, yeah, that makes sense, and things like that. But
it's an off the charts supernatural book. It really is. And that's really what I'm kind of about with this show. It's like I'm just fascinated by the supernatural, just going back to your logo there. It looks like the mountain in the background is also a Bigfoot, right?
yeah, it's the
Yeah,
head of a Sasquatch. Yeah.
that's cool.
Well, what it represents is the Renaissance man's in forest, cooking, fishing, and doing all this thing. But you got to know the Sasquatch is constantly watching you, not just Sasquatch, Nephilim, all us. There's so many spirit creatures out here. I'm becoming to realize I'm catching them on video now. I can see these, something opened up in my head. Like I can see these faces and stuff in rocks and trees. Sometimes the lower quality of your camera too will even be better. Like there's more. It's not pareidolia. Everybody blows it off as pareidolia, but I think that word was created just as a something to write it off, so people don't get too into depth on this topic.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. People throw that term around too liberally. That people who like learned that term 2 weeks ago are using it for everything.
Yeah.
It's so dumb,
I
man.
have some videos. These things are so clear, you cannot deny it. Like, and there's massive heads in the forest, in water, everywhere. I was at this sacred waterfall that's sacred to the natives here in BC. It's a waterfall and a hot spring, and I made this video 2-3 years ago. I went back and watched it again. I was blown away. I didn't see the stuff back then 3 years ago, but now when I watch the video, there's huge faces in the water, and some of them are like so clear you just can't blow it off as pareidolia. I'm gonna make a video on that soon.
Yeah, there's a guy who I've had on, and I'm talking to him about doing another episode because he has a whole Instagram page dedicated to these faces
Is that crypto reality?
No, no, it's not. It's Garrett King, and what he does is he takes a pan and he puts water in it. I don't know his whole process, but he's able to take pictures of faces coming through the water. They're using the water as a medium to come through into our reality. And the faces look like ETs. They look like straight up grays.
Oh yeah, they're not just, yeah, there's so many different creatures. There's got to be thousands and thousands of them, all different creatures out here in the forest.
It reminds me of what some of the stuff I've seen on your channel. It's like, so he's picking up these faces coming through water. With your channel, they're out there in this matrix of nature or something. They're just coming through in a different way, but it's still like a similar thing.
You talk to the natives, they just call it it's the spirits of everything. A rock has a spirit, a tree has a spirit, but sometimes you can have one tree and it has 1,000 faces attached to it. But
one of the guys who I had on who did talk about the Nephilim, he also wrote a book comprised of like 700 different fairy stories.
I've been capturing these fairies, man.
Yeah.
Lately, like I have a pretty clear video of a fairy. You can see its wings, you can see like its head, its body, and they're like translucent too. You can see them flopping around, but it's like translucent. You can see through it. At first I was calling them orbs, but then I'm like, man, that's not an orb. Like, it's not round. It's not anything like an orb, but I have orbs on video too with faces in the orbs. And one of them looked like almost like a First Nations person. It was a face in the orb traveling around.
Yeah. Yeah. Those are
These
very
are cool.
compelling.
It's giving me cold shivers just talking about this stuff sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah. I've seen, yes, I'm trying to remember which video of yours it was, but there was one, I was watching it, and yes, you were able to capture an orb, and when you slow it down, there's clearly a face there.
Yeah.
It's the crazy. Before I saw that, I didn't know about this. I didn't know that orbs sometimes just had a face in them, not like a little body like a fairy, but like just a face.
Yeah, those fairies though, I don't know, man. They zip around like as fast as UFOs that I've captured sometimes. And I asked my buddy Sasquatch Randy about them a little bit, and he said he's seen one once, and he's seen its face. I've never seen them like firsthand. I picked them up in my videos, and I got to slow it down, enhance it, zoom in. But he's supposedly seen one in real life, and he said it had like a long nose and everything. Like, yeah, I don't know.
Well, Sasquatch Randy,
I was trying to bring him out here today to have him on with you too, but he's doing something with his son. So
okay, well, we'll talk about it, man. We can set that up for another time. I'd really like to talk with him too, or have him jump on here with you sometime. Like he's
a very spiritual guy, man.
He has some of the best, in my opinion, it's some of the better Bigfoot footage that's out there.
Yeah, it's a lot of controversy on that because you got this group of people calling it a fake and attacking them, and those same people attacked me quite a bit when I first got into Bigfoot. But yeah, but the Bigfoot world is ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. And what I learned, like, I used to go on these Facebook groups and I would like try to show people these faces and stuff. And if you look at the Patterson Gimlin footage, there's 1,000 big faces in the background everywhere. You can see them everywhere. Some of them are moving and everything. I got some of them smiling. They're not just in one spot. They're like smiling and blinking and doing all kinds of stuff. But there's way more to it than what people think.
Oh, I got to show you something later. It's on my phone. There's a guy who sent me some pictures, and we can throw him in this basket, bro. Like this whole, like you with some of the stuff you're capturing out there in nature with these wood spirits or whatever we want to call them. Then there's this guy who's picking up the faces in the water. There's another guy who's been sending me pictures. He just goes out in his backyard and just takes pictures.
Yeah, you don't have to go far to do this.
He's got a camera set up, like a security camera, like a motion activated camera. He's picking stuff up on that. He just showed me, not very recently, he showed me some of the most compelling paranormal footage I've ever seen.
Wow.
In his backyard, and it's a Native American child who's coming through a rift.
Crazy, man.
Yeah.
I got to set up some cameras. I always wonder, because I got a dash cam on my Jeep and I'm always like in the forest. I always wonder what that thing has captured because it always rewrites itself all the time. And I'm like, man, I should start popping that SD card out and seeing what's on there. God only knows what's on that thing. But
with Bigfoot, it's such an anomaly. But I also believe, because I've told you before we started recording, I'm from Appalachia.
Yeah.
There is a town that I used to live in Appalachia where these things were absolutely in the area.
Yeah.
I mean, they would get to hooping and hollering at night. And it's some of the most otherworldly stuff you can imagine. It's like when you hear these things.
And you heard this firsthand and stuff? Or?
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah.
So to me, that's a Sasquatch encounter. That's an encounter in my books. You don't have to see one to have an encounter. You'll feel it. There's a lot more to it than just seeing it. Have you had any other kind of encounters? Or
Yeah, in that area. Yeah, I have. It was a very remote area, and I lived across the street from a mountain,
Yeah.
a small mountain, and it's a mountain that was steeped in native lore. The Native Americans who owned
Which
this,
tribes are from there?
I don't remember the tribe. I'll have to go
Yeah.
back and look into it. I didn't know those people, but I knew that they owned the mountain and they wouldn't let anybody develop it because it's sacred.
Okay.
It was sacred land.
Oh
And
man.
I mean, I probably won't go into all of this right now because I don't want to sabotage this interview with you, but there's a ton of stuff that happened in this area. But one of the things I'll tell you real quick was late in the evening, right before it got completely dark, I often saw a huge man jump behind a tractor shed about 150 yards from my driveway.
Wow.
I'd pull in, and sometimes I'd back my car into uh, the spot where I parked it, and out of the corner of my eye, I would see a man standing next to the building. And it was so quick. It was like as soon as I'd look at him, he was already on his way behind that corner. And a couple of times I walked up, I got so interested and just curious about this that a couple of times I got out of my car, and instead of going inside, I walked up to the building, and I never looked around the corner because I got a bad feeling about looking around the corner.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, you felt it, man.
Mhm. But I would see it looked like a giant man, and he was fast.
Like a man, or are we talking Sasquatch, or did you see clothes?
I think it was one of these Bigfoot.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, they're everywhere, man. Every continent, I would say, on the planet has well, it does. There's reports of everywhere on the planet has Sasquatch encounters still to this day.
It looked like a man with almost with like a big coat on or something like that. It was kind of tall and lanky, but it may have been a younger Sasquatch. I don't know. It was fast as lightning. It was almost paranormal how fast it was.
Yeah, yeah, they're super fast, and a lot of people. Sasquatch Randy one, he I guess they'll jump on down on all fours too, and like kind of gallop like a deer or something almost, and they're even faster on all fours than they are on two legs.
When they start yelling at night, it sounds like it's a very large animal. You can tell.
Oh, yeah, you can definitely tell.
Like like the owl. People say they sound like they weigh like 1,000-pound owl.
Yeah. So hang on, I got a dog here. We got a ton of barred owls out here, and get out of here. Go on, get. We got a ton of barred owls out here. Hang on, sorry. Got to get rid of this dog. Come on. Hey, what are you doing, you little shit? Get out of here. Get.
Some wildlife activity here. Okay, so what did the dog get a hold of that stuff?
Yeah, the dog attacked my muskrat skull and hide. He grabbed the hide and ran off with this globe. Luckily, he didn't smash the globe. So, yeah, it's like a muskrat skull. It's got like a tiger's eye rock in it. And then I attach a piece of hide to the globe. I make little weird things like this. My place is full of skulls and hides and stuff.
I love those skulls. Those are very unique.
Yeah, that's like everything that I trap or hunt. I try to make something beautiful out of it to respect the animal. Where were we again?
I think we were talking about
Appalachia. I wanted to ask you about that's cool that you had those Sasquatch encounters there. I've always been fascinated of the wild people, like the actual wild humans people, like the inbred people or whatever. Like what are they? What's the deal here?
Well, we could be talking about a number of things here. There is lore from the early 1900s and late 1800s of a wild man like creature. It's more like a rabid feral human. It's some of those stories kind of bleed into Bigfoot stories. Like it's kind of at some point, sometimes it's hard to tell the difference. Was this a feral person or was this a Bigfoot? Because
Yeah.
just because you're reading an old article and they're not clear about certain things, but you also might be talking about the whites of West Virginia, like a very inbred kind of
Yeah, I hear
backwoods.
stories of them like pretending they're injured on the trails and then snatching up hikers, and I don't know if they're cannibals or what. I hear all kinds of dark stories around that Appalachian Trail.
Well, that I'll have to look into. I haven't heard that. That's interesting. I will say this though. I know the Bigfoot sightings are very active around the
Yeah.
Appalachian Trail.
Yeah, I've been starting to, I don't know. Well, a lot of people's been doing it for years, but connecting missing people to Bigfoot. And I guess that's where we can jump into
Yeah.
my whole video and stuff and
Yeah,
what I'm here for.
let's jump into it, man. I mean, I'll say this, one thing I appreciate about you and your channel is that you leave room for Bigfoot, UFOs, and fairies in kind of the same conversation. A lot of people don't go there, but I
Yeah.
appreciate that you can go and kind of touch on this topic of UFOs as well.
Yeah, I think you originally wanted me on about Bigfoot, and then I kind of was like, I kind of want people to, I want this video blown up and enhanced by a professional that knows how to do it. The video has been blocked, like only like 1,000 people have seen it. And I find every time I put aliens, UFOs or something like that in a title, it doesn't get anything for views. If I put like Sasquatch is a little different, it's not so blocked. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like they're not as threatened by the Bigfoot stuff.
Yeah, because everybody just laughs it off or something.
Yeah. So yeah, let's talk about your video and your sighting a little bit. You brought up missing people. I know that there is now I guess we could call it a famous case, a missing 411 case, where a guy named Ray Salmon, he went missing. He's still missing to this day at this Harrison Lake where you spent a lot of your time.
Yeah, so that was in David Paulides' newest documentary. I think it's his newest one, Missing 411, the UFO Connection.
Mm-hmm.
That man, he was an experienced outdoorsman hunter. He went out hunting and he just vanished. There's a big, David Paulides goes more into it if people need to watch his documentary, but that was literally 5 minutes down the road from where I filmed this alien in the lake. And that lake is, just so people know, it's over 1,000 feet deep in some spots. So I believe personally that there could be some sort of alien base under the water there. Mm-hmm. There's been locals that have seen UFOs coming up out of the water there. And I did check UFO. I just searched for UFO sightings on the lake, and I was on this website, UFO Hunters, and there was 2 sightings also in that same location above the water. That's just 2 sightings that were recorded on that website, but there's way more that people don't record. Me personally, when I see a UFO, I don't go report it to anybody. No. Same with Sasquatch.
Did you see that footage I sent you?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. I seen that. So that must have been like right in the town, I would say. It sounded like there was a party or something in the background.
Yeah, I was thinking that maybe they were like partying by the lake or something and they shot that.
Well, the town's right next to the lake. And then some people do have cabins and stuff. Not very many. It's pretty remote there. But there are a couple cabins around the lake. And
it's a wild piece of footage because it looks like a disco ball going off out there. It's crazy.
Yeah, it was cool. And then it moved on to some other sightings or something. Did it? Were they all in Harrison or?
No,
I seen the one, that weird glow ball, and then someone was driving down the highway or something.
The glow ball was Harrison, and then whoever made the video tagged in some footage from elsewhere like California and stuff. But I do think that there's something to this Harrison Lake. Like, I wasn't very familiar with Harrison Lake until I found your channel, because I know you do a lot of stuff there. It's very beautiful there.
Yeah, I don't
But
know if you know this, but I do have the business. I was always told from the beginning, never try to profit off Sasquatch, and
yeah,
or it's almost like a curse in a way. And I tried; it did not work. But
well, let's
I still have this. So this is a little pamphlet. I call it Harrison Lake Sasquatch Country Camping. It is something that I do. It's a guided camping adventure. So I take people out. I take them camping for 7 days around Harrison Lake. I'll show them tracks. The 2 or 3 people that I did take out, they all had encounters. Some scary, some not. But we've always found tracks or heard wood knocks. Or it's not hard to find these things around this lake. That's what I'm saying. And
yeah.
I take people to different hot springs and stuff like that are around the lake, because there's like 2 or 3 natural hot springs there. Then we go to the Sasquatch Museum, which is in the town of Harrison Hot Springs. I don't know if you know Thomas Steenburg. He's got a lot of his casts and stuff in that town in the museum. It's got the stories of Ruby Creek, the Ruby Creek incidents just down the road from Harrison Hot Springs. Harrison Hot Springs is deeply embedded with Sasquatch, with the Steenburg First Nations. Oh, we have the Sasquatch Days. The Steenburg First Nations gifted me this shirt when I was there. They allowed me to set up a booth. I'm not First Nations, but they allowed me to set up a booth at their event called Sasquatch Days, where they do the Sasquatch dance, and then there's a bunch of native elder teachings and canoe racing and stuff like that on the lake.
Mm-hmm.
But Sasquatch has been in their culture for over 10,000 years, and
Incredible.
yeah, there's like statues everywhere of Sasquatch in the town and stuff. Really cool town for people to visit. And if they need a guide, I'm your man.
It's one of these places that's just a hot spot. I'm starting to realize that. And I think it can be fun, but I also think it can be deadly. In this case with this Ray Salmon, what the spooky part about that for me was that he was a experienced outdoorsman. He knew the area, and he had dogs with him. And his wife said that his dogs always went out and hiked with him, but he had locked the dogs in the
trailer.
camper.
That's right. That's strange. Yeah.
That tells me that he was trying to save his dogs from some type of imminent danger.
Yeah. Yeah, that is weird. Yeah, mostly everybody takes their dogs, even at night. If they're walking outside checking stuff, they'll bring their dog just to be an alert system in a way.
And I looked at the case again for this guy. I was just trying to get a feel for the area that you had your sighting in. So I looked more into this case, and I got the sense that the local authorities, when they went to go out and look for this guy initially, it seems like they had a sense of that there was like a phenomenon at play that poses a threat to people, because they showed up very armed.
Yeah, I heard stories that like the equivalent of the Canadian FBI was there and some military. I don't know if this is all true or not, but this is what I heard, and all kinds of RCMP and stuff. And kind of what David Paulides says in the thing too, FBI and stuff don't even investigate missing people. So
yeah,
there's definitely something else happening there.
Yeah, absolutely. Why don't you tell Eric, because we've kind of set this up very nicely now. Like, we've got this area, we've got a region here. We know it's a hot spot. We know it's ripe with Bigfoot and UFO stuff. So why don't you walk me through your story and what happened to you out there?
So I was there camping with my oh man, how long do we got?
Take as long as you need.
So a bunch happened. The first time I was there, it was me, my ex-wife, and my daughter. She was just like a baby at the time. And we were camping there for probably 4 days or something. And there were some other people there. It is a pretty popular spot. A lot of the off-road people will go there because you can drive right up on the beach in your Jeep and stuff and pitch your tent anywhere. It's not a paid campground or nothing. I honestly don't want any more people to know about this spot because it's already gets packed now. So I ain't telling no like exact locations of where this is or nothing here.
That's
But it is near to David Paulides' thing that he talked about. But anyway, so we were camping there. Well, firstly in my video, because I filmed it all, we're cooking some stuff up, and then the next morning I go around, look for tracks. I found a bunch of Bigfoot tracks clearly in the clear flat sand. No other footprints around. There's like 2 or 3, and then they just disappear. This is a clear sand bed, like nowhere for the thing to jump or jump in a tree or nothing. There's like 3 tracks, big wide tracks. They weren't as long as my foot, but they were like super wide. And I'm guessing like a juvenile or something. But I seen those, and then I sat down. And I was just talking about the YouTube channel and how I started the channel and all that stuff. Sitting on a stump, and then I looked out at the water, and I seen this big ball thing on the water, and I started looking at it, and then I turned the camera around and started filming it. I was just trying to play it off as a anything, a log, a seal, or anything. I was just like, what is this? It could be this, could be that. And the thing was going against the current pretty fast. And it wasn't until I got home, edited the video, and then posted the video. And then one of my subscribers out of Alaska, she watches all my videos on like a big screen, high depth TV. She started watching the thing, and she's like, you got to take a closer look at this, because this thing is not, there's way more to this. And she sent me a bunch of screenshots and stuff, and then I started zooming in and watching it. And yeah, it's this big ass bulbous looking head, probably 3-4 times the size of our heads, and its eyes are just locked on my eyes the entire time because I'm the only thing watching it. And it knew that I was watching it.
You got the sense, or you actually could see a little bit of a face staring back at you?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Oh, wow.
When I enhanced it myself and went on the video, I got cold chills. Like at the time, I was just fine, but when I enhanced it and looked at this thing, how its eyes were locked on me, like that's where it all kicked in. And there's at times in the video where its head, it kind of goes all blurry, and then it changes. One spot it looks like a praying mantis, another spot it looks like an alien gray that you would see on TV or something, and then another spot it looks like something else. It's like its face is like constantly changing too at the same time. And its head's not like moving like this, it's staying stationary and going like this, like the whole way through the water. And and it just keeps going. And the weirdest part is I stopped watching it, and I said to everybody, I'm like, I'm going to keep my eye on it and watch it. And that's just not me. Like, I would always watch something like that. Some people think that they might have tapped into my head or something to make me stop paying attention to it, because I just stopped like recording after like 2 or 3 minutes. And then, that was it.
Let me throw something in here, because I've watched the footage, and I'm going to leave a link to the footage for everybody. So just go check out the description.
We won't leave the original, but we'll leave the link to the video.
Sure.
Yeah. I don't want that original for everybody. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'm with you. But one of the things that really stood out to me is that, you can tell that it's something that is humanoid and in the water. There's a way that people look if you're at the beach and you see somebody out and they're doing this sort of they're wading and swimming, but they're upright while they're doing it. Whatever this is doing that, but the head is way big to be too big to be a human.
I have screenshots. You can see a little tiny neck and little skinny shoulders. There's a spot where its hand goes up, and I enhanced the background of that video too. It's way back far away. Like it needs a professional to go over this, but there's like things zipping around in the sky behind it, and all kinds of weird things in that video if you look real closely at it. I go off. Sometimes I sit in my place and look at videos for days and days, analyzing them, and it messes with your head a bit. But
what happened? So what happened the rest of that evening for you? Did you just hit record, or did you just stop recording and just kind of go about your business, or what?
Yeah, I just kept recording the video. I stopped recording the alien, and then I just continued on with the video, talking about my YouTube channel and Sasquatch and stuff. One of my Sasquatch encounters that I had on the other side of the lake there,
Mm-hmm.
where it was my first time hearing them talk. Me and this English dude were camping at a campground on the other side of the lake. A lot of people think that that thing in the water is a Sasquatch too. I don't think so, but anyway,
Yeah. Is
yeah.
there anything special about that corner of the lake? Is it deeper, or is it located next to anything of any geographical importance?
There's a river that's right where a river flows into the lake.
Oh,
I'm not sure how deep it is there. I need to re-download that Navtronics app and maybe go there with that app, and then it will tell me how deep the lake is and every point. You know that boating it? I don't know if you know about it. Navtronics, it's called. It's like an app for boaters, and it tells you where the how the depth of the water that you're on.
okay.
But
No, I wasn't aware of that, but that's interesting.
yeah, I use it for like crabbing and stuff. I do a lot of crabbing, so I'll use that app for my depth on my crabs and shrimping and stuff.
I would be very curious. I would like to see how deep that is out there. That's,
Yeah.
not that, because, well,
Right where it was actually is not that deep. Because sometimes it gets lower and it goes up and down
yeah.
depending on what time of year. But so
Well,
that
I
was
do
just
think
that was
these
my
things.
encounter there. Sorry,
Okay.
you go
No,
ahead.
I was just gonna say, I do think that these things inhabit spaces in the water. I know the oceans.
Yeah.
There are cases where, I covered one on here. I covered the 4chan whistleblower, and it's a guy who came out and said, he worked for this military industrial complex independent company. They were tasked with monitoring this huge ship that's out in the Atlantic Ocean. Our government knows about it,
Hmm.
and they're keeping it under wraps, but they've got this
Whereabouts in the Atlantic? Like,
in the Bermuda Triangle.
oh, okay, cool.
Huge ship, man, and it only moves if we approach it with ships or submarines, or if it feels threatened, it will move for a little
What?
bit and then it'll come right back. But
Huh?
this guy wrote up 40 pages of
Yeah.
stuff on this and put it online. I read through all of it. It's very compelling, and they've been watching it long enough to where they realize its purpose. And in part, its purpose is making smaller UFOs. It's like a
Oh, weird.
factory.
What?
Yeah, it's wild,
Crazy.
man. I can send you the stuff on that if you
Yeah,
ever want
man.
to see it.
Send me all that stuff. I love that stuff. We have something called the British Columbia Triangle here. I actually live in it right now, and I think that location might be in it as well. It goes a little further east, but it's like a triangle where um a lot of missing
Man,
people wind up.
really?
I'm pretty remote. There's a couple of people that live on this property, but I'm super remote. I'm at the bottom of Stave Lake, which is another hot spot, just like Harrison Lake. And then there's Golden Ears Park, where I go all the time with Randy. That's another hot spot. I'm right in the middle of all that stuff. And I was just talking to the neighbor. She brought me over some casserole, and I gave her some. She's really into Sasquatch. She told me on tomorrow they have church, whiskey, and Sasquatch days. That's her ritual. So she'll watch Sasquatch videos.
Mm.
But she was over. We had a fire and we were talking and stuff. She told me about some of her encounters. She went back over to go to bed or whatever, and everybody left. And then we heard a bunch of hooting behind her house, and then there was a bunch of loud knocks behind her house. And that's what she told me. She's like, she's in her 70s, I think, and she's a outdoors woman, like knows what she's doing outside, and she's lived out here her whole life. And yeah, she's had quite a few Sasquatch encounters just right in her backyard.
That's cool.
And right where I'm living, there's like two big Sasquatch tree breaks next to my trailer, I noticed, and I found a few foot tracks in the mud out here too. But
Well, I got to ask you this, and you can answer it however you want. Was there, it seemed like when we talked before that maybe there was somebody else who was thinking about joining us here and telling a story.
Yeah, yeah. So I want to tell you I brought my mother and grandmother and my ex-wife and kid there again about a year later. I want to talk about that first
Okay.
because that'll work us up into my next time visiting there. So I brought them all camping there, and a lot happened then. Um, so my mother, she woke up at like 4 in the morning. She heard like talking or something outside, and she woke up and she looked up, and there was something. All my tents are the mesh roof tents, so it's all mesh, so you can see up through the top, watch the stars and stuff. But when she looked up, she said there was a creature that looked like a seal. It was about 7 or 8 feet tall, with like tall, spindly, with like leathery skin, looking down at her and my grandmother in their tent. But before this happened, there was this truck on the beach, and my kid was like attracted to this truck. And my kid started running to the truck, and my mom had to chase my kid down. She was, I think she was like 2 or 3 at the time. My mom had to like chase her down because my kid was like super attracted to this truck. And when she started chasing her and finally grabbed her, she looked for the truck, and there was nothing there.
Oh, what?
We had a flock of geese flying overhead.
Yeah, I wondered what that was.
Yeah, so I thought that was really strange, and my mom had a totally bad vibe about this truck and everything to do with it. So she like grabbed my kid and just kept her away from that. And then that night, she heard the talking, and then she woke up, and then this thing was hovering above her tent.
Okay.
And again, I think the next night, all 4 of us witnessed a massive UFO fly over. Everybody that I showed the video to, they're like, "Oh, that's Starlink. That's Starlink." I went on Starlink's thing. There was no launches that day. I think it was the edge of a fucking massive UFO ship, because it was all those dots all in a row like Starlink, but it was, you could see that it was like like a cylinder type.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
all 4 of us witnessed that
Wow.
fly overhead at the same location. And there was another thing happen. We heard like a massive bird fly over too at that same location. It was dark late at night when birds aren't even normally out. All you could hear was this massive wing flapping overhead. So it wasn't just me that witnessed this. But the weird thing to me is, why was this thing attracting my kid? Why did my mom see the thing over the tent? My mom didn't even tell me this till recently. She's like, "Jason, I need to tell somebody this. You're the only one I can tell that won't think I'm nuts." And she's like, "I need to talk about it." And then she told me these encounters, and she had some other encounters, her and my grandmother, at other lakes that I'd taken them to.
Would you describe that creature again that she said she saw
She
through the
said like
tent?
7, 8 feet tall. She said its head looked like a seal's head,
Wow.
and a long, spindly body with like leathery skin.
So if its head looked like a seal, maybe this thing came out of the water?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
That is
And
creepy, man.
some of the screenshots do kind of look like that, like the one where to me it looks like a praying mantis. That could be kind of similar to that. All those screenshots are actually in my video, because I have 2 or 3 videos on that, and they're somewhere in those. People can find that.
A part of the story you told me reminds me a little bit of like a Wendigo, in the sense that it got into your kid's head almost.
Yeah, that was a scary when she told me that.
Yeah.
I didn't like that at all. But what I was thinking, like, why, like, my kid, my mom, and me are all related. Why are we the ones that have that, had those encounters?
Maybe it's genetic. I've heard that hypothesized before.
Yeah. And then just recently, so I met this, we had a bit of a falling out. I won't get into much detail on that, but I brought this supposed starseed type girl there. She says that her ancestors are I reached out to her a long time ago on Facebook because I was noticing my kid was like seeing like spirits or something around me. Like she would point at things above my head. One time she pointed above my head and started laughing hysterically at something. And I could always like see her looking over my shoulders and stuff. So I reached out to this girl and I was like, can you like help me if there's like some dark spirits are attached to me or something that my kid's picking up on or something like that? And then she's like, yeah, I'll send my spirit team into your apartment and they will get rid of any of that dark energy. Little did I know that her spirit team is actually a race of extraterrestrials, which is supposedly known as Aphims. Have you ever heard of them?
No.
She's supposedly they're her ancestors. They live on some planet where she's from. I can probably get the planet and all that, but supposedly she's a star seed. And when she says her spirit team is these extraterrestrials. They're not actual spirits that you would think like human spirits.
Mm-hmm.
And she talks to these things daily to get guidance in life. And she does spiritual readings for people and card readings. And she's on TikTok. It's Divine Gray on TikTok. She does readings and stuff for people on there if you guys want to find her. And yeah, anyway, she brought her spirit team in and when she did that, a couple of days later, my ex-wife, I was at work, she called me. She's like, Jason, there's something in here. Something keeps opening and closing the garbage can, and I'm seeing shadows everywhere. My ex-wife's not into this stuff, and like she's really, really Catholic. And then I rush home, and nothing there or anything. And I got to say, things didn't seem to get better. They actually got worse. That same period, my YouTube channel got shut down, got demonetized, and things did not get better when she.
Yeah.
And anyway, I brought her out here. She's from Nova Scotia, so she flew out here to British Columbia. I brought her to the spot, right the exact spot where I filmed the alien. She talked to her spirit team. They told her to make a protection circle around us. She did that, and then these beings started approaching us, and she's like, these things are huge. And I didn't even tell her the size or anything, that what I filmed or nothing. She didn't even see the video or nothing. She's like, there's like 4 of them and they're huge, like they're massive. And I was like, well, yeah, that head that I filmed was huge. It was like, the head looks like it could be like 3 feet long. Like it's a huge head. Like, well, yeah. But so we have some video of it, and the feeling was intense. Like it was so intense. Like I didn't even want to be there. She didn't want to be there either. But we tried to fight off the fear and stay there. And what we have on video, it's like 4 little fuzzy balls. You can't see them or anything, but you can feel that they're there. They're not little. They're like big, glowing, like all blurred, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And she said that her spirit team says that they want to make contact with us, that these beings want to make contact with me and her. So we try to like fight it off and stay there longer. Just wait for this bike. And I started hearing this clicking, like getting really close. I don't know if you ever go crabbing or anything. You pick up a crab or a lobster, it starts to do this little clicking noise.
Yeah.
And it sounded just like that, but louder. And it was getting closer and closer and closer. And it got close enough that I was like, all right, I'm done. I'm out of here. I don't want this anymore. Mm-hmm. And then I found out too that the Predator movie, I guess that thing clicks too. Oh, someone was telling me the other day in the movie The Predator.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. So what happened the rest of that night? Where did you guys decide to make this protection circle?
Right on the beach, next to the water. Yeah. Right around my Jeep and everything. But when it just got overwhelming with fear. So I was not like fear, but it just felt like I shouldn't be there anymore. So I decided we jumped in our Jeep and we drove down the beach a bit away from there and sat there for a while with the windows down to see if anything else would happen, but nothing else really happened. So then we just kind of took off. But I do want to go back. I don't know if I should or not, man. Like, really, I got a guy here. He wants me to take him there, and he wants to actually try to make contact, but I'm not sure I want to do that.
Yeah.
I don't want to be the next person on David Paulides' TV show.
Man, I'm glad you mentioned that because that's a crazy tie-in. I mean, first of all, this is a wild, wild story, and
Yeah.
it gave me chills at some parts. But as you're telling the story, I forgot that this is the same area where this guy is still missing.
Yeah. Yeah. This all happened at the same spot.
And I'll just tell people too, like that where they found his camper locked with his dogs inside. Obviously, something was stalking him, and he locked his dogs inside. His rifle and like a blanket or something was down the beach. I don't know, like 300 yards or something down the beach, and then up behind him on the mountain, way up in the mountains, was his pistol.
Yeah. That's weird. And that's like other David Paulides cases, like there'll be a missing boy goes missing, and then they'll find his clothes like all folded up, perfectly
Yeah.
folded and placed like miles away on top of a mountain. It's almost like they're dropping things in random locations or something from their. I don't even know. I'm like, why is this thing in the water? I thought they had spaceships. Like, are these some sort of water creatures that we don't know about? Like what are they? But
Well, that's the thing about you guys, all this happening by the water and lakes, especially. There's a whole episode that I've worked on. I haven't put it out yet, but I found all this information on lake covens and
yeah.
people who use lakes. Crowley, for instance, Crowley used lakes to do magic.
Oh, really?
Yeah. There's a story about Crowley. He went and stayed on an island in New York. It was an island in the middle of a lake, and he was just out there doing magic. He was using the water
Hmm.
and like with Crowley, his style of magic involved channeling entities.
Yeah.
So there's something to do with the water. It's a means to get in touch with the other side. You know, it kind of goes back to this guy I was telling you about.
It's like
who I want to have
mirrors
on.
and stuff like that too. Water, mirrors.
Yes. So,
I,
like scrying.
I know lots of witches and stuff that are into that kind of stuff, and this girl is somewhat into that. And I dive a little bit into that stuff myself, but there's also another woman that I know from. She lives in the town of Harrison Hot Springs. Her name's Ruby. This chick, she meditates more than anyone I know in my life. She meditates like at least 12 hours every single day. She'll be at work meditating. She gets off, meditates. She stands by the Harrison Lake and meditates. I filmed her while meditating. There's fucking UFOs zipping around all behind her and stuff. And she's another one that she says she talks to these extraterrestrial beings and she brings them in through meditation.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that CE, whatever, that David Greer stuff.
CE5.
Yeah.
I'm with you, man. I think that there's not a lot of boundary between CE5 and spirit guides.
Yeah.
Because how do you know at the end of the day? How do you know a lot of these entities are tricksters, man. They're going to tell you one thing, but you're never going to know.
That's like that starseed that I brought there. She thinks that they're all good and stuff. I don't think so, man. Nothing good happened with my life when she brought them into my apartment. So
yeah.
I don't think they're as good as what she thinks.
I think me and you are on the same page with that.
Yeah.
I don't trust the spirits, man. I think too, like I've read a lot of John Keel as well. And one of the things that I think he was dealing with was this celestial intelligence that is like this astrotheological trickster that like dangles a carrot in front of paranormal researchers and goes, "Oh, look over here, come over here, check this out."
It's the same as the little people, the fairies, all of them are known to be tricksters.
Yes.
All those beings. Like, yeah, it's not even good to look into that stuff too deep, I don't think. And it's all around us all the time.
So do you think when you're on the lake and you've got this protection circle thing going and she's the spirit, the starseed girl is like saying, "Oh, they're huge. Oh, they're huge." Was she was she in? Did she go into like the astral realm or something and see them, or how did they present themselves to her?
I could feel them too, but
Hmm.
yeah, I'm not sure how she gets her visions through this other group of them or what, but she just kept saying how huge they were. And I just found it a coincidence since of what I filmed and everything and what I seen. I was kind of I was kind of thinking they're like a tall gray or something like that. Like from what I hear, they're like 7 feet tall, big heads. And then when she started saying how huge they were, she didn't really get into detail of what they looked like or anything. She just said they were huge. And there was four
There's
of them, 3 or 4 of them.
it's the water. The water plays a really big role in this, and I don't know all the details of that, but since I started looking into lakes and lake monsters even, and there was a Lovecraft, an HP Lovecraft cult that was in Chicago for a while. And what they would do is they would leave Chicago and they would drive up to these lakes that have this mystical, legendary, lore. So they would go to the lakes that had the paranormal lore and they would do their stuff there and they'd use the water as this conduit for magic.
Hmm, cool. I like that. I want to learn more of that stuff. Um,
So, but I'll tell you this, man, like
do you know any like devices or anything that I could get to like go there with to pick up some sort of read? People told me get like uh what's the one
like
the
the EVP stuff.
yeah, yeah.
I don't know. See, I haven't really gotten into that ghost hunter like stuff. I
Yeah.
know I like to use protection for the house. Like, I used to use sage, but
Mm-hmm.
I've
Yeah, Sage is the best, I think.
yeah. Well, it's I like Palo Alto too.
Palo Alto, what's that?
It's a little piece of wood from this Palo Alto tree. I think it's from
Oh,
South America, and you burn it, and it's a similar. You can smudge with it. You can
can
like,
you smudge with you can practically smudge with anything, can't you? Like sweet grass and
yeah, right,
kinds of stuff.
yeah,
Yeah, that's cool. I wonder, I found this really ancient cottonwood tree that I took home the other day. I might use that.
yeah. I mean, maybe it's not for everyone, but I think too, like having like the Bible and using that helps with this stuff too. I can't explain the technology behind that, but for some reason,
Yeah, might be worth me getting one of those, I think.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I think too, it's like your intention is. I think your intention going into these situations is paramount.
Well, the woman across the road here, she just told me today before this podcast. I've only talked to her that one time around the fire. She told me her encounters and stuff. And she's told me that she thinks I'm attracting these things here.
Mm,
But I think just talking about them attracts them. And
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, that's why I keep this Palo Alto around because I'll do some podcasts, like this one, and stuff will happen, but I have to pray and sage and kind of clean up the
what
vicinity.
what's that thing glowing behind you there on your
Oh,
left
that's
shoulder?
that's just a little light. It's like
That's cool.
yeah, it's like a little planet orb light thing that I picked up.
Cool.
So, oh man, I was going to ask you too, like speaking of seeing faces and stuff, one of your videos, well, I've seen on your channel where you'll show it's just a still shot of this face back in the woods. It looks like a fairy face almost. It looks like a little gnome guy with a hat on or something. Or,
Yeah,
but you could see it's got two little white eyes.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I remember that video. That
How did
picture.
you capture that?
Um, is that the which video is that again? There's
I don't remember, but I don't remember
this
which
like
video it is. I'm sorry. I
it
think
looked like he
you,
was wearing like almost like a witch's hat or something, or I can't
yeah.
remember.
So it just looks like a little I should have saved a picture of it to pull up.
Yeah, I would have to know because, man, I see these things in so many videos. But yeah, I normally, when I'm editing my YouTube videos, I'll just, anything that catches my eye, I'll stop and slow it down and zoom in and I'll capture them that way. I never see them firsthand. It's always while editing. That's when I find them.
Yeah.
But lately I've been actually like seeing stuff a bit more firsthand, but especially those fairies and stuff, you can't, they're like translucent, they're zipping around so fast that our eyes can't even comprehend it or see it. I got another video I haven't released yet, but I filmed a bear hunting video while I was doing the gutting and all that. There was like a bunch of little tiny discs zipping around everywhere, watching me or doing something. They clearly know when you're filming, and it's almost like they want to be in the film too. It's weird.
Oh, that reminds me of that Steve Isdahl footage where he's.
Oh yeah, that was a great one. Is that the one that I broke down of his? Did you see that?
Yeah, you did. It's Steve Isdale. He's standing on like the ledge of a mountain and he's looking out over this valley.
Yeah.
And there's these two big mountains and he's kind of looking out in between
The one
them.
that zipped between the mountains.
The footage is wild. It looks like there's a
it's
base.
Huge too.
It looks like there's a UFO base in the mountain.
Yeah,
because all these little UFOs are zipping in.
Yeah, they start coming out, but then there's that one that goes in the sky between the two mountains too. But yeah, that really looks like some sort of wall opening up in the mountain that these craft are coming out of. I would love to get that location and go there, but
yeah, that video is alive. I
don't think Steve likes me too much. I've talked to him a few times. Well, I haven't talked to him. We got in an argument once on Instagram about something stupid, but yeah, I sometimes I get little digs and stuff at him, but
I think he probably appreciates the promotion. Let's not.
Yeah, maybe. I wish he'd promote my channel some.
But I'm telling you, so yeah, that video that you did breaking down that Steve Isdale footage is phenomenal. It's too much stuff to be natural or coincidental.
Yeah, I love making those videos, but they really mess with your head too. Like I sat in my bedroom for like a week or two making that video. And the more I would look, the more I would find, and it just messes with your head after a while.
I was going to ask you too, when it comes to Sasquatch Randy and his footage, which again, I'm just going to tell everybody I love that footage. It's some of my favorite Bigfoot footage out there. I just want to put it out there. You need to check it out. I know it's in your intro for your show.
Yeah.
But was that near this Harrison area?
No, that was in Golden Ears Park, which is, I don't know, an hour or two drive away.
Okay.
Golden Ears is a huge hot spot. I don't know. You probably might have seen me and Randy and Skylee there where we found all the structures and stuff. There's like, it's a video of just all structures, but that came from that park, that stump thing. Oh, and by the way, that stump photo of his, he collected DNA from that photo, and that DNA was used in Melba Ketchum's DNA study, as well as L.A. Marzulli's DNA study. Do you know L.A. Marzulli? Nephilim dude? Yeah. So yeah, he got hair samples from that stump, which was used in those DNA genome projects.
How did that come back? Unknown?
Well, that whole
well, wait, I think with Ketchum,
the hybrid
it was like the DNA came back as like human female as the mother, and then unknown as the father, right?
Yeah. And back to the Starseed girl, she wasn't into Sasquatch at all, never looked into him. She asked her spirit team about Sasquatch for me. What she said is they were vanished from the land. They were vanished from society because they did something really bad to like a female queen or something like that a long time ago, and they were vanished. I would guess like it was a sexual assault or something on one of them. It was something not along those lines, she said that they did, and then they were like cast out. But I found that kind of interesting because it goes back to some scriptures and like all a bunch of different stories.
Well, that tracks for me. I think at the end of the day, all this stuff does have a spiritual component, and especially with Bigfoot, because I feel like there is a rule book here. It's almost like they are not allowed to mingle with us,
Yeah,
and that feels spiritual to me.
yeah, yeah. They're definitely not allowed. It's like they are following some sort of rule or something that they must abide by. And
Yeah.
but again, with Harrison Lake, at the very top of Harrison Lake, there's the Douglas Native Reserve. That's where Seraphine Long, she was a 15-year-old Native Indigenous woman. She was kidnapped by the Sasquatch for about 2 years. Have you ever heard that story?
No. Tell me her name again.
Seraphine Long,
Okay.
a Native girl. This is back in the late 1800s. She was kidnapped by them, and for 2 years she spent in a cave living with them. A juvenile grabbed her, threw pitch over her eyes, and carried her up into the mountains. And then she got really sick and sickly and stuff, and she was begging them to let her go. And they would just look at her and laugh, and they wouldn't let her go. And then she was like getting super sick in this 2 years, almost dying. And finally, I guess the same Sasquatch put the pitch back on her eyes, brought her back to her tribe, and she gave birth to some creature, which died a couple days later. The creature did. And yeah, that's another story off the lake about Sasquatch, off the alien topic. But
no, I love it, man. Keep it going.
There's the Chehalis First Nation, Chehalis Reserve, which is a river close to Harrison. Sasquatch is pretty deep into there. Supposedly, there's a 6-foot tall, 300-pound woman that's living there today that they kind of keep her hidden, and supposedly she has Sasquatch DNA.
What?
Yeah. So it's still like things like that still happen out here.
Yeah.
There's the Robert Osmond story, him kidnapped out in a sleeping bag. That's from BC too, up around here. There's been a lot of kidnappings of Native women by these Sasquatch.
One of my favorite UFO cases is out of British Columbia there in Canada. It goes back to 1938.
Yeah.
And it's this guy, he was a constable, aka he was like a police officer. That's what we would call him here in the States. He was some sort of I don't know, he's some sort of a law enforcement official, but he was out searching for like a missing trapper.
Yeah.
And he's out in this remote area. It's a glacial area as well. It's right there on the Alaskan border. There's a town there called Stewart.
Okay.
So he's out there looking for this trapper. So he looks in this cave, and he finds what he described as 5 alien skeletons, which had extended craniums. And another guy was with him for this.
Send me a link to that.
Okay, I will. Another guy was with him. His name is Larry Requa. So they find the cave. The other guy with him would later in life validate this story, but also there are police records that still exist about this that validate the story too. One of the entities they saw there had a metal medallion on, imprinted with like Cosmo star symbols.
Wow.
All 5 entities were dead, but facing a stone altar. And this guy, Larry Requa, he said his impression was that they were stranded here and they couldn't leave Earth. So they hid out in this cave, and they eventually died there, I guess praying to their gods or whatever. But the cave had unusual characteristics. They said it like appeared to wind in like a vertical configuration and the walls were like really smooth, like as if the beings had used like some type of boring device, but with technology that was very advanced. And, they made tunnels within this cave. So, and like this story got put forward. I did some digging on it. They were trying to get Art Bell back when Art Bell was alive to cover this.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened there. That fell through, but the guys that were on Art Bell were trying to talk to Art Bell. They wanted to go back out and find this cave. They were trying to get a little bit of
Well,
hype
that
built up around
technology
it.
was probably still there, wouldn't it have been? When
Well,
they
so yeah, well, as of 2000, the skeletons are said to still be in the cave.
what?
Yeah, because these guys, these cops, they never went back and moved them.
Oh yeah, sure.
I'll send you the link to it, man. But it's a wild case, man. And like all these guys on their deathbed said it's true. They weren't UFO guys either. Man, it goes back to 1938. These guys were just
Peoples must have been in there by now, though, since if it's public like that, you think, or
I don't know, maybe
cool to go explore that.
yeah. There was another cave. No, not. Yeah, I did. I came across another cave story, but I don't have it with me. But
That was in BC, way up on the Alaskan BC border, I guess, eh? Probably on
yes,
the coast.
it was up on near this Stewart. It's beautiful up there, man. It's
That's
like
right on the coast, isn't it? Yeah.
it was further up inland, I think. I got a picture of Stewart here. I'll pull it up. So this is the glacier up there.
Oh, cool. Wow,
So
it's a beautiful glacier.
yeah, it's level.
Wow, I've never seen a glacier like that before. That's crazy.
I know, I love it, man. It looks like they can. I don't know. There's a road on it apparently. Like
Yeah,
the
it
regular
looks like a road.
Yeah, the regular road runs right up to the glacier, and then you can
Wow,
just get on the glacier.
that's beautiful.
Beautiful. That's where this is an area where they found this cave, and I think that they were based out of this place, which is Stewart.
Hmm. Wow, this reminds me of Jasper because I went on a glacier tour in Jasper, which is another town that just recently burned to the ground. By the way,
Man,
beautiful tourist town in Alberta here, just on the other side of the border. Well, Alberta BC border, but this town reminds me of there.
this looks very similar to some of the towns I've seen in West Virginia.
Huh.
Just
Yeah,
a
looks
nice,
cool.
quaint little mountain town. Only
Yeah.
our mountains are as big as your mountains out in Canada. Like the scale of your mountains
Yeah,
in Canada are just so much bigger.
BC's cool, but where I first fell in love with the mountains was in the Alberta Rockies on the David Thompson Highway. I'm a Thompson myself, Jason Thompson, and David Thompson. He's like our Canadian Christopher Columbus, I guess, Canadian explorer. He's the one that mapped all the Rocky Mountains and stuff. He used to work for the Hudson's Bay Company, and he actually is the first recorded white man recorded Sasquatch encounter. First ever recorded on history, other than like the First Nations and stuff. So he used to map the Rockies for the Hudson's Bay, and when he was doing that, had like some natives helping him through, guiding him through the mountains or whatever, and they found these tracks or whatever. The natives thought that they were a young woolly mammoth. Have you ever heard the story of that, David Thompson?
No.
Yeah, the natives thought it was a woolly mammoth track, and he thought it might have been a giant grizzly bear or something, but then he started looking more at the track, and it was had toes and an arch and everything, and it was one of the very first Sasquatch encounters ever.
Really?
Yeah.
That's your relative?
I don't know, maybe.
Oh.
Yeah, he came from European descendant somewhere and came over here and married a native woman. And yeah, this is way back in the fur trade days.
You know, I think Canada in general has a lot of hot spots. I remember this clip of I saw on YouTube about this crazy news segment that came out where on the news they're talking about how in 2017 they said 3 UFOs per day were seen in Canada.
Hmm.
And Vancouver in your area was high on the list as a hot spot.
Yeah, it is. Have you watched Mountain Beast Mysteries UFO documentary yet?
No, I've only
You
seen
know
his Bigfoot
Justin?
stuff.
Yeah, so he never really accomplished much with Bigfoot, but he moved into Edmonton for like a couple years. He's got some of the most incredible UFO videos I've ever seen, and then he posted a documentary about it. It's probably the best alien UFO documentary I've ever seen.
Okay, I'll watch it. And this is
Yeah,
Mountain Beast Mysteries.
yeah, Mountain Beast Mysteries. And he filmed it all from the city of Edmonton. Edmonton, it's Alberta's known for just here in BC. It's always foggy, and because this is like a temperate rainforest here.
Mhm.
And in Alberta there in Edmonton, it's always clear skies. It's like winter time. It's clear skies. It's always clear sky. And he got all this from the balcony of his apartment, and it's just some of the best UFO video footage I've ever seen. There's orbs going in and out of people's apartments, and he's got like triangular disc going over. And what he talked about is how some of these ships, they took on like an organic thing where they're like almost becoming like bird-like and moving like birds and things like that, and almost moving like things that you would see in the water. I have video of some things too I consider UFOs, but some of them, they move almost like a fish or something that you'd see in the water, but yet they're moving through the sky.
Mm-hmm.
You got to check. Everybody should check that out because it's
I will watch that tonight. I
yeah,
love his stuff, man.
yeah.
I
He
I
never
used to
really he never really had that Sasquatch encounter that he had, but
yeah.
that alien stuff, man, like that is it's great.
Yeah. His some of his stuff, like I used to put it on at night
Oh yeah, it's perfect for
because
that.
I would just relax and just watch his I do that with your channel too sometimes because
He's like a professional photographer or something too. Like he's got all the gear. I just rock a drone and a iPhone.
yeah. But like going back to that news segment, because it really stood out to me that they were openly talking this way about UFOs on the news. They said something along the lines of Vancouver, Montreal, and Toronto are cities on the extraterrestrial highway.
Huh. Cool.
I was like, wow, I can't believe I'm seeing this on the news.
Yeah. That was probably recent, wasn't it? Since they started,
It
half
was
that.
2017. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, now that they're going all public with the UFO stuff, I don't really believe half of the stuff they put
Yeah.
on the news. But yeah, that was a bit before. I remember when they first went public and they put that video that the army or whatever had there, that blurry video from one of those fighter jets or whatever. It was
Yeah.
like one of the first videos they went public. Like that's garbage. I have better UFO videos than that. The one that they put public from our own Navy or whatever.
Oh yeah, oh man, I know. It's almost like a slap in the face
Yeah.
with that foot. Like I I don't want to come out and say screw the Nimitz footage, but at the
Yeah.
same time, it's just like, man,
There's way they have way more than that. Like, come
there's
on.
a reason why they showed that footage because it sucks.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
why.
That's brutal.
Yeah, I mean, you have to with some of that footage, you have to sit through like 15 minutes of an explanation on how a camera in this F-16 works or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like, come on,
Yeah.
they won't release the good stuff.
What do you think of that whole Vegas thing with the crash and then these
Yeah.
giant 7 foot tall grays running around?
Well, the most compelling part of that for me was the footage that the cops captured on their body cams of that greenish orb descending from heaven.
Hmm. I don't think I've seen that.
That's what kicked this whole thing off. Was an officer was out on call, and you could see it in the body cam. He's standing on the street. Across the street, there's some houses and like a tree, and you see this thing. It's a green blur of an orb, just a green entity, right? That just comes down and disappears behind one of the houses. And so that's
I
what
didn't realize it. I didn't realize it was on the cop's body cam. That makes it more legit to me, I guess, in a way.
I think if you look up Las Vegas body cam footage, you'll probably be able to find it for people who are interested. But that's what kicked the night off. That's why when you see the other footage where the cops show up to these people, they say, they call the police, they say something's in their backyard or whatever. The cops show up and the cops are receptive to what they have to say.
Yeah.
One of the cops even says, normally I wouldn't take a call like this serious, but we've had some stuff happen tonight, some weird stuff in the sky, or, something along those lines. So when the cops showed up to those people's house, they were already open-minded towards this, whatever this was, this phenomenon.
Yeah, that brings something to me. I don't know how much UFO video you've seen online, but I was kind of searching for aliens in the water after my thing happened, and then there's not very many. And there was these two guys out in a rowboat, and there's this big green light in the water, and they're following the green light around. Have you seen that? And they keep following this green light around, this ball of light in the water, and then they boat right over top of it. And then there was an alien in the water in that green ball of light, and it gave me flashbacks of my video. I don't know, it was on YouTube, I found it, but you'd have to search aliens in the water or something. I don't even know how I found it, but it just gave me flashbacks of my own own video that I found. But
if you come across that again, please send it to me.
I'll try to search that up again. It's creepy looking.
And you know what? I think I should send you this document of this 4chan whistleblower, man, because it's all about the water. These things are out there in the ocean, man, and it's very elaborate. It's almost like it's too elaborate to be a hoax.
Oh yeah, for sure.
With this guy's knowledge and everything. And, basically what he did was he got on 4chan and he said, all right, here's the deal. He just put out a blanket statement. He's like, okay, this is who I am. This is who I used to work for, although he didn't name the company. And he's like, we used to monitor this off-land UFO base. And he's like, all right.
Is that the ship in the triangle? Again, or
yeah, it's the same one. Yeah, cool. But he decided to just allow people to. He did a huge Q&A. So there's 40 pages, at least 40 pages of him answering people's questions online about monitoring this UFO out in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. It's wild.
And the UFO is the ship.
Yeah, it's a UFO that makes little UFOs.
And it sits on top of the water or under the water?
It's underneath. It's underneath.
Man, have you watched any, my kid, I got a daughter, she's she just turned 4 just last month, and so I've been watching, I find little Sasquatch cartoons and stuff to watch with her. It's crazy how much stuff they throw in these cartoons that's how Hollywood, they've always hidden little stuff in movies and stuff, and they do that in these cartoons too. So
yeah,
one of them is Son of Bigfoot. It's a cool cartoon. And then there's the one called Smallfoot. Sorry, I got kind of ADD. I kind of jump topics and stuff.
Oh, we're good, man. No,
But
Makes
yeah, there's the
sense.
one Smallfoot about the Yetis and stuff, and it tells there's a song in it done by Common, the rapper Common. He's an actor too, and
Yep.
it's called "Let It Lie," and it tells like the history of the Yetis and why they're up in the mountains and what happened to them, how they were chased off by humans and
Really.
forced to hide, and that they live above the clouds, and they have this system with these stones that they protect these stones, which makes these clouds, and the clouds are like, they're not real clouds. They make the clouds to kind of hide them, and then they find this Smallfoot. The Smallfoot is us, the humans. They can, because the stories are all told by the Sasquatch, and yeah, it's a really cool cartoon. You should check out.
That's
Yeah, it's
awesome.
just got a lot of hidden stuff in it. And then Son of Bigfoot, it's another one that it talks about how they have healing powers, the Sasquatch, how they can heal people, and the kid's father, his mother says that his father was dead, but he was like chased off a long time ago because he had like Sasquatch DNA and he was growing hair, and then this hair company wanted him because they wanted people to be able to grow long hair and stuff that were balding. And anyway, the kid winds up finding out that his mother lied to him, and she tracks down his father in the forest, and he learns that he has these same abilities that his dad has. He can talk to animals, he can heal, and he grows, but he doesn't grow the fur. He's human, but he has the abilities of the Sasquatch without looking like a Sasquatch, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Another really cool cartoon to check out if you got kids or anything.
Yeah, I love that backstory, man. That's really cool. You know, it kind of reminds me of this case I've been looking into, and it's just kind of for fun. I found this legend. It's from out of Russia.
Yeah.
They call them the Russian wood goblins.
Oh yeah.
But they're basically a Sasquatch-like creature. And so there's a village out there. It's just south of Moscow. And the local peasants there back in the day talked about seeing hairy humanoids. And so they called them wood goblins. That's where the name came from. But it's this supernatural charged mystical region. It's in a valley there. It's on the banks of the river Moskva.
What do you mean, how supercharged?
There's dolmens in the area and like weird rocks.
That's falling into that cartoon in a way.
Yes. And there's, in real life, there's a group of pagan people that go out there and do rituals with those rocks and stuff. And other people appreciate the rocks for other reasons, but there are these, supernatural dolmens in this region. And some of these other Sasquatch reports from this area say that these giant hairy entities were able to slip into our realm from another dimension.
Yeah.
So people associate the dolmens with it.
Is that maybe how they're doing it with these rocks and stuff? Because they can clearly go in and out of somewhere. I brought that Richard guy from New Zealand, Sasquatch Country Camping, and we found other tracks in a fresh bed of sand. And again, it was 2 or 3 tracks just disappeared. Mm-hmm. And then they stop, and there's just really no other explanation. They're either going into another dimension, into a portal or something, how they're just disappearing like that.
Oh, well, I got to tell you this story too. I just pulled it up. This comes out of this region of Russia that I'm talking about. It's called the Golosov Ravine. One of the stories out of there is from the 19th century, and it says 2 local fellows had a big night out at the neighboring village and decided to take a shortcut through the ravine on their way home. Past the dolmens, and on the banks of this river they went, and they finally turned up again. They went missing that night, and they finally turned up again 20 years later. And they told a story where
people showed up again?
These 2 guys,
they're
out
still alive, or they were?
Well, they said they found themselves trapped in a dense fog at the bottom of a ravine where they met a large, hairy, man-like creature who managed to put them back on the right path with using hand signals. However, when they got back, they were shocked to find that 2 decades had passed and that their wives and children did not recognize them. The incident was reported to the police, who conducted an investigation during which one of the men dissolved back into the fog and never returned.
That's cool, man.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So Sasquatch are being connected to time, missing time and stuff now.
Yeah.
That's
Time
really
travel.
cool.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you think about one of the terms that I learned from watching your channel was Sabe?
Yeah. The Sabe, that's so Sabe comes from we would say it's Anishinaabe, which is Ojibwe, the natives. So Sabe is in the 7 sacred laws. Do you know the 7 sacred laws with every animal, the turtle, the wolf, the bison, the bear? They each have a meaning: love, honesty, and all that. Sabe is in those teachings as one of those. It's either truth or honesty that the Sabe represents, and the Sabe is the Sasquatch. So if you go back to Ojibwe teachings, they're in that, and that's where that name comes from, in my opinion.
Wow.
And they call them Sabe. But yeah, they got the circle, it's the 7 sacred laws. Like the turtle has a meaning, the wolf and everything has a meaning, and then they have the Sabe there, and it's either honesty or truth. I can't remember.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Just like it's it kind of reminds me of some of the totem poles out your way.
Oh, if you see any totem poles here with the big lips, the big red lips, most of those are depicting a Sasquatch. The big lips going like a blow sound, like a whistle. Those are most likely Sasquatch.
Yeah. The Sabe thing, that's a wild backstory. I mean, very, very cool association too with the 7, what did you call it? The 7 laws?
7 sacred laws.
Yeah.
Yeah, any First Nations, every First Nations culture has Sasquatch in it. I would say anywhere, but here in BC and in Canada, every single one has stories of Sasquatch.
Yeah.
Even where I'm from, I'm not from here. I'm from Nova Scotia originally, on the East Coast, and even our Micmac natives have stories of Sasquatch. They just called them different things.
Mm-hmm.
There's thousands of names for Sasquatch. But Sasquatch comes from here, actually. The name Sasquatch comes from British Columbia, but the real name is Saskets, Sasquets. But there was an article, I think it was J.W. Burns or whatever. He did an article here in BC or something, and they mispronounced it as Sasquatch. So ever since then, it was Sasquatch instead of Saskets, which is the real name. Saskets means wild, hairy man in their First Nations language.
Yeah. I've got this book here. It's called Black Elk Speaks.
Oh, cool. Nice. Black Elk Speaks. What's that about? I love the cover.
Yeah, me too.
I love First Nations culture, man. I try to learn, and it's becoming so hard to learn because you can't even really find natives that even know their own culture anymore, because what they tell me, they're like, oh, I've been whitewashed since I was 5. I don't know anything about my culture.
Well, this guy remembered Crazy Horse. He grew up.
Oh, I wanted to talk about him. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
It's just a fascinating book. Like, the reason I brought it up is because of the connection that these people had with nature in a spiritual way.
Well, about Crazy Horse, what else does it say about Crazy Horse?
He remembered Crazy Horse, and he rode alongside him in some of these battles they had.
Well, Crazy Horse, he was shot at over like 200 times, and he still had the ability that these Sasquatch have to go in and out of dimensions. That's why he was shot at over 200 times and never hit once. Mm-hmm. So he still had these abilities, and that's why the government wanted to wipe his whole bloodline off the face of the earth. because they don't like people having
Yeah.
these powers and abilities anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that connection is any American who reads this book, or any modern person who reads this book, you have to readjust the way you think about the world, because these people were so spiritual. They're on a totally different level of existence than we
Oh
are.
yeah.
Everything is spiritual to them. It's like this conversation that we're having today that some people might think is kind of weird or out there because we're talking about UFOs and Bigfoot, and we're not really even batting an eye when we're talking about the two interchangeably here. And I like that, because that's how these people would have thought about this. They
Yeah.
wouldn't have put up walls and distinctions between Sabe and celestial extraterrestrials.
Yeah. Yeah.
They live alongside of us,
Yeah, for sure.
and that's
Always.
there's
That's cool.
there's no barrier like we have today. There's no taboo in here. There's God, there's us, there's other entities, man. And it's like, I don't want to get
Thousands.
all spiritual, but like even in the Bible, it talks about the principalities of heaven.
Yeah.
And it's talking about these entities who have the sanctioned areas of the universe that they govern.
Hmm.
They've been around way longer than we have. There's
Yeah.
these entities that have they're princes of the heavens. They have their section of the universe that they govern, and they've been there longer than we have. And they're the principalities mentioned in the Bible, and we aren't alone, and we never were alone.
I think we're like so new to this planet. It's not even like we're new here.
Yeah.
Well, we might have been around, I don't know, 10,000. Well, obviously we're here 10,000 years ago, but just because we have like proof of that. But
yeah,
there was probably so many other creatures, and just look at how many different types of humanoids there are that they tell us about. There's probably so many more that it's just endless how many different types of creatures there could be, and all these. That's why we're seeing so many weird, creepy looking faces in the forest. I'm seeing little tiny ones this big, ones that are like 10 feet tall. Just the head is 10 feet tall, and yeah, it's endless. What's our time? What's our time here? I don't know.
We can go ahead and start wrapping up. We're doing good.
How long are we at right now? How long is your normal podcast?
We're at the place where I usually start to wind down. Like,
yeah,
I'd say maybe we could do a couple.
Are they normally like an hour, 2 hours, or what?
Well, I kind of let them go naturally, but usually lately they've been around 2 hours.
2 hours,
and we're right at 2 hours, so we're.
Oh, are we? Cool.
Yeah, we're doing good.
I want to be on again. I could sit here and talk. I'm getting a little chilly, but
no, we'll go ahead and we'll go ahead and wrap it up, man. This was a good place to wrap it up.
I want to be on again for sure, though. I could sit here and talk to you for a whole day, I think, or more.
I know.
If we were in person with some beers, it'd be even better. You should take a trip out here, and I'll take you Sasquatch country camping.
Cool, man.
But I won't charge you.
Cool. That's an offer I don't know if I can turn down.
You get the flight here. I'll accommodate you food and accommodations.
Cool, man. I'm very fascinated with Canada in general. Like that fascination started because of your channel. Americans have this weird idea of Canada, and it's nothing like how Canada really is. I
think we're living in igloos and stuff.
I think a lot of Americans just think of like Toronto and these cities. They don't realize that there's this vast expanse of wilderness with BC, mountains.
That's why I'm here in BC. As soon as I moved here, and I'm from Nova Scotia, we got no mountains or nothing. We got ocean, beautiful ocean and stuff like that. But since I moved here, I'm like, there's mountains and the ocean all in one. This is where this is where I want to be for the rest of my life. In BC, you could spend an entire lifetime exploring this place. There's so much untouched land here. It's unbelievable. Everybody's stuck in these little cities. So
That's what I'm talking
it's
about.
like 5% of the province is lived in and the rest is untouched.
That's what I'm talking about, man. Just that expansive wilderness and just the scope of the beauty. And I think a conversation like the one we had today fits really well because the best Bigfoot footage I've ever seen comes out of Canada, always. The best Wendigo stories come out of Canada.
The Wendigo, back to the Anishinaabe Ojibwe peoples, is deeply embedded into they won't even talk about it. You can't even say that
Can't
word.
say it, yeah.
No.
Yeah, they have this weird, well, I don't want to call it weird. They have a very intense sacred reverence for that word where they won't even say it.
Yeah, I would not want to run into one of those in the forest by the pictures and stuff that I see, what they're depicted as. It's not so, I want to see.
best some of the best, like that cave, that alien cave story I told you about from 1938.
Yeah, that was awesome, man. I want to go there.
I'm gonna send you the stuff on it then.
Yeah,
it's gonna be
to make a video there.
You go up to Stewart and check out that little town, man.
Yeah, I'll go there for sure.
But that's Canada, man. I think there's just a lot more to Canada, and I just think that your sightings and stuff are off the charts. And like, I can always tell too, if I see some Bigfoot footage, I can usually tell if it's in Canada. And the way I can tell is because the mountains are like twice as big as the ones here.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's also another story. I'll save it for another time, but I'll just talk about it just a little bit here. There was this blackout of 1965 where that started in Canada, I think in Ontario.
In Quebec. In Quebec or Ontario somewhere.
Probably both. It wiped out this huge section of Canada, and it even came down into the States. And in New Hampshire, you have these sightings that people came forward with, these reports where they said they saw UFOs hovering over the power lines, and the UFOs were shining like a blue beam onto the power lines, and then all the power went out. And it's this blackout of 1965, and it started in Canada. It's just wild.
Yeah, but are these like government ships or are they real aliens? That's where I'm at too. Like, obviously, our government has technology we know nothing about. Or are they even government? I don't know. I don't like to call them government. Like more like shadow government or something like that. But
yeah. Well, that's, that goes back to this 4chan guy for me a little bit, because this guy worked for this organization that was working alongside of our government in a secret capacity, but yet they were independent. And I think when you get these independent military industrial complex companies and you make them independent, you don't have to answer to Congress for funding. So they can keep the whole project black.
Have you heard the Men in Black deathbed confession video yet? I tried to post it 4 different times and they blocked it every time.
No. Where do I look for that?
I had it created. I made my own version of it, but it is online somewhere. I forget the guy's name, but supposedly he worked as an FBI agent. He started dying or something, and he went public with his story and how a big percentage of the Men in Black are aliens. And you must have seen the footage of the 2 walking in the hotel there, their faces and shit. Like, those dudes are creepy looking. Those ones would obviously be alien, I would guess. One's guy face looks like it's half melting off, like melting or something. But he goes into detail about the reason it kept getting shut down for me, because he talks. This video is made like 20 years ago. He talks all about the pandemic that just happened and the vaccines, and he gives the exact date when this stuff's going to happen too. And this is like an old interview that he did. and he
Oh,
talks
I
about
got to
he
see
talks
this.
about the children. I'm gonna try to remake it because I added like what's that new movie that they have out with Freedom, something about the missing children and
Yeah,
stuff, and
the
the
sound of
adrenochrome.
freedom.
Yeah, I put in a bunch of clips with that while the guy was talking because he goes into detail about all the missing children and how they're being harvested for adrenochrome and all that stuff.
Hmm.
But yeah, they would not let me post that video, and it like really hurt my channel trying to post it 4 different times.
Yeah, when you get into that word, the Chrome word, they come down
Yeah,
hard. Like a lot of my friends who are podcasters, they all get shut down for saying that. That's like a huge no-no.
yeah, we'll call it what can we call it? Something else. But me and the guy from Hawaii, we talked a lot about that word
We call it
because
adrenaline.
Oprah Winfrey, she was like one of the first people to show up in Hawaii passing out pillows to everybody, and then 2,000 children went missing, and she's supposedly a big time dealer of sort of that
Mm-hmm.
product.
Right, right. Well, before we wrap it up, let me
You may
ask you
you may even
this.
just want to cut that right out because I don't want
Nah,
your channel to hurt.
we'll figure it out. I can maybe blank it out or something. We're good. But
Yeah, blank out the word. You should. Yeah.
I got to get this Men in Black deathbed confession. I got to find that footage, man. If you got
Yeah, it's
anything on that, send it to
I
me.
can send you the original link to it, but I really liked mine because I put like such a good I put such a bunch of work into it and put like background while the guy's talking, like of aliens and UFOs and stuff like that. But I'll I think
Are
it's
you about to drop a Bigfoot documentary? I think you mentioned something about that.
I'm gonna put one out tomorrow, and
Nice.
it has your podcast. It says at the beginning that I'll be on your podcast and between 15th and 18th, 15 and 18th. What was it? 15th,
Oh
18th,
yeah,
and 23rd. Either the 18th or 23rd, that'll be on your podcast. So for
yeah.
people to watch that, it's just me on a hike with a guy that's been having a lot of encounters. Some with this like 20-foot tall Sasquatch. The best thing about this guy, he doesn't have a YouTube channel. He doesn't have any social media, and he shared all of his encounters with me and how they would come to his home and smack on the walls. And he rebuilt some hot springs in Harrison on Harrison Lake.
Hmm.
Harrison Hot Springs is what the town's known for, is the hotel that sucks up one of the hot springs and puts it into their pools inside their hotel. Anyway, he went out of his way to build uh, a rock wall for the locals to enjoy. So he found the source and he built these beautiful pools for the locals to enjoy the hot spring too, because the rich fancy hotel wouldn't do that for the locals. So he just did it out of the goodness of his heart. And while he's doing this, he does it at 2, 3 in the morning. I don't talk about this in this video, but I'm just explaining this guy that's in the video with me. He does it at 2, 3 in the morning, and because there's always tourists there, so they'll be ripping down the walls and tearing them down. He gets pissed and goes back and fixes it. But when he goes out at 2, 3 in the morning and repairs the hot spring, he has these beautiful encounters, he says, with the Sasquatch people. So that's the guy that I have in this week's video. I do it's probably one of my best voiceovers I ever did, I think. And I call it The Hills Have Eyes.
All right.
Nephilim giants and the watchers of the wilderness.
I love that.
Yeah.
I'll be watching that for sure. You know, I'll just tell people, man, like in closing, we live in a really crazy time. We live in a really crazy world. A lot of these truths are coming out, and like there's just a media that's suppressing it, and there's just a lot of BS. But in the
Some people
middle,
just won't accept it, and they're not meant to accept it. I think these things are only for people that it's not for everyone.
yeah.
Everyone can't see these things. That's what I started to learn too on posting stuff on Facebook groups. Some people can't see these things because they're not supposed to see them.
Mm-hmm.
They're just not supposed to. They're not awakened, I guess you could say.
Yeah, the spirituality has been and just a overall connection to nature has been stripped out of modern man.
Yeah, and that's why the natives, they have the real knowledge. Like even they lost it all too, but they had the real knowledge and the secrets to this planet and what we're supposed to be doing and how we're supposed to be living, and it's all been taken.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you have an awesome channel, man. I like having outlaws on my show. You're a real outlaw. You question
Yeah.
the narrative. You do your
Yeah.
own thing. Like there's not another channel like yours. It's totally original. And I like it because you seek the unknown and you show the beauty in the world as well. And I can get behind that. So thanks
Yeah.
for coming on and tell
Yeah,
everyone
thanks
where
for
they can
having me,
find you.
man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell everyone where they can find you.
You can find me on YouTube, Renaissance Man. Make sure you type it in as one word because everybody says I can't find it because they do two separate words. So Renaissance Man, one word.
Mhm.
And I'm on Instagram, Renaissance Man 902. And actually, my Facebook's getting pretty big now. I'm on Facebook, Renaissance Man Truce is Facebook page. And I also have another Facebook group called Missing UFO Connection, Sasquatch, Aliens, or something like that. It's all called. It's just a small group, like 300 people on there. But yeah, you can find me on there. And yeah.
Yeah, and on YouTube, sometimes I'll just type in Renaissance Man Canada. That seems to pull your page
Does
up.
it? Okay, cool. I noticed people put Renaissance and then Man separate, and it just pops up that old movie, the Renaissance Man movie from
That's exactly.
the
That
90s.
usually pops up, but I'll just go. I look for your logo too. If you look for the picture, and you'll see his logo there, guys. Like it's the yellow, the logo that we showed before. So
I got lucky. I got lucky and actually got Renaissance Man as my handle. So YouTube has handles. So make sure when you start your channel, you put your handle Sixth Sensory Podcast if you want podcast, or just Sixth Sensory, because the handle is very important when searching. So I got lucky. If you type in Renaissance Man, one word, it should pop up my channel first thing on the top of the page. But
okay, well,
the handle's like the @ symbol and then your name. You can access all that when you're editing your channel on YouTube or whatever.
Yeah, yeah. Everyone go check out Renaissance Man. Check out his work. I follow his channel. You should too. And as always, break the mold, conquer the realm, and thanks for listening.
Big shout out to Tim Constantine for having me on his podcast. This was the first podcast I've ever done. I had a great time. Looking forward to going back and talking to Tim again. Hopefully get him out to BC. And thanks again, Tim. Really loved it. You guys get on Spotify right now. Subscribe to Sixth Sensory Podcast. He's also on YouTube, Sixth Sensory Podcast. You can check him out on Instagram, Tim Constantine, as well as another profile, Sixth Sensory. And go on all those platforms. Hit him up. Subscribe. If you guys have some cool encounters, I'm sure he would love to have you on his podcast as well. So, yeah, get on there. Follow, like, share, subscribe, all that stuff. And this is episode number 1. Thank you, Tim, for allowing me to use the content. And we'll be making our own podcast here on the channel. So you guys hit me up if you want to be on the show. Cheers for now.